Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Well, better.
Thank you, sir.
You're from Bannu.
Yes, sir, I am.
Let's start from here. Since you are from Bannu, and this cropped up in my mind, so let's have your views on it.
So there was the re-emergence of TTP in areas adjacent to Bannu and mainly in Bannu. And against that backdrop, there were protests going on from the locals. They were demanding that there should be no oppression because the operation as Mestekam had just been announced at that time. And they were protesting against that. Their demands mainly included that there should be no oppression at all. Secondly, that they would not evacuate their houses and they would not go to any other place like the previous military operations did with the people of Waziristan and other places. These were their main demands. And then there was a sit-in, a march planned on a day in which that fateful event took place when the armed forces opened fire and the rest is history.
What are the chances? How can the situation, how soon or well the situation can be normalized?
So the situation can be normalized by having an inward-looking approach. The people of Bannu need to understand the fact that there are Taliban and we see them roaming in the streets and the roads of Bannu. And they have in fact started to arrange these check-ins and check-outs on the various entry points of Bannu. And they are posing a major problem. They have constantly been attacking the civilian and armed forces installations in Bannu. That is a serious problem. The people of Bannu need to understand that fact. Secondly, as far as the government of Pakistan and the armed forces, they also need to understand the fact that the previous military operations, the mistakes which they did in the previous military operations should not be repeated. And those operations should guide us in order to frame a military operation named Azm-e-Istehkam. It should be a targeted operation, not an operation that is based on evacuating people from their homes. So that is one, the inward-looking approach. Both parties need to understand each other's concerns. The second would be that there should be no political point scoring on an otherwise legitimate concern of the people of Bannu and the people of Pakistan in general. Operation Azm-e-Istehkam has really become a need of the time on the ground that we do not see any other alternative to curb this growing threat of terrorism and the re-emergence of TTP. The Afghan and Taliban are not forthcoming to help us, primarily because they share this long history of resistance with the TTP against the foreign invasions, and secondly because they share a common ideology of Deobandism, and hence they are not forthcoming to help us. We do not have any other alternative, and hence this operation is what we need at this point in time. So these are the two options which I can.
Thank you. You are LLB qualified.
Yes, sir, I am.
Since you are joining Federal Investigation Agency, you're trying for it. We expect that you know the laws, certainly the penal laws and the criminal laws, which are used in the FIA investigations also.
Yes, sir.
So, can you tell us how a PU is declared, how a proclaimed offender is declared? What is the process for that?
The process of notifying a person as declared or proclaimed offender?
How a proclaimed offender declared?
An offender is declared to be proclaimed. There is a whole process of that. First, summon is issued, and if summon is not served well, and if it is not, it doesn't get its valid response, then warrant is issued. If warrant doesn't get its own objective, then there is issued a proclamation for a person. In proclamation, it is basically inscribed on various conspicuous public places and court walls, house of the accused, or any other place of prominence to the public. This is how the proclamation of an offender takes place. There is a whole procedure that is provided by CRPC. If the proclamation doesn't work, then there are other remedies with the courts as well. Those include the attachment of one's property in that case. But this is the...
Right. What are you doing right now?
Sir, I have been practicing criminal law at the Bannu District Court for well over 6-7 months now.
Why you want to join FIA?
Sir, my inspiration to join FIA stems from certain factors. There's one familial reason. My maternal grandfather had served as assistant director FIA. He was sent from police. He was serving there as DSP. He was sent to FIA on deportation. My mother spent time with him while he was in DA Khan, posted in DA Khan. I have grown up listening to his stories, so my mother will really feel proud seeing me in the uniform of FIA. The second reason is that I have done LLB, a degree in law, and I feel that it is very much compatible with the job description of FIA inspector. All the precepts, the rules, laws which I have learned over the course of my LLB degree for the last 4 to 5 years, I would be able to actually materialize that and utilize those precepts in a meaningful and productive way by joining FIA as inspector. Thirdly, there is one reason which stems from my own profession. There is a fundamental flaw with my own profession. The juniors are relegated to an unimportant standing in my profession, so much so that the entire court work is being carried out by the seniors, and that there is no, plus the point that there is no stipend and no patronage or no support system for the juniors, and hence I feel that FIA would provide me with greater opportunities as compared to my own legal profession at this stage. Law is a remarkable field in terms of the prestige it confers upon the practitioners, but the point is that it would take me almost 10 to 15 years to become able to basically be hired.
Okay. Give us the profile of FIA.
So FIA is a federal department. It works under the Ministry of Interior. It was established under FIA Act 1974, also called FIA Act 1975. The powers and functions, the mandate of FIA has been provided by the FIA Act 1974 and its schedule. There is only one schedule of FIA Act and 10 sections, hence it's a minor act. The schedule of FIA provides certain powers and functions for the Department of FIA. There are about 96 sections from the Pakistan Penal Code with which FIA can deal. Then we have 21 acts, such as the Anti-Money Laundering Act, the Prevention of Electronic Crimes Act, the Protection of Pakistan Act 2014, and the such. Then we have 8 ordinances with which FIA can deal, the Copyright Ordinance and others. So this is the mandate of PECA, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir, PECA also falls within the FIA jurisdiction.
How is FIA organized at the country level?
The FIA is organized by dividing into several zones, wings, and circles. At the broader level, there are wings or departments of FIA. Those are based on the functional categorization of FIA. There are various wings which are assigned different functions. For example, the cybercrime wing, the anti-human trafficking and smuggling wing. Then we have the immigration wing. These wings are based on, and they are primarily categorized on the basis of their various functions.
And what is cybercrime?
Cybercrime is a crime that is done using the computer as a tool for that crime. There are various categories and various forms of cybercrime. We have got cyber terrorism, which is currently in news these days, a bit different name. It is called digital terrorism. Instead, it has been replaced. Cyber terrorism would mean repeating or doing the same kind of terrorism, the normal terrorism. For example, doing anything against the innocent civilians, striking fear, creating panic in society, and the such via using the electronic devices and computer devices. That would be termed as cyber terrorism. Then we have the cyber spamming, for example, using fake identity and betraying people, deceiving people by impersonating or by any other means. These are the various kinds of cyber crimes.
What is white collar crime and why it is named as such?
So white collar crime is basically a crime that is committed by people with authority, be it from the business world or be it from the political and administrative arena. White collar crime, the term was coined by Edwin Sutherland in his famous book that was written in 1939. The name white collar crime derives itself from the fact that it is done by people with white color. The white color is basically associated to people who are in position of authority or who are having respectable positions in society.
Okay, right. Now, if you want to file a complaint in the FIA, what are the ways that are provided in the FIA Act, how you can do it?
So there are two ways in which a complaint can be filed in FIA. One is the online system of FIA, and second is physically going to the offices and headquarters of FIA. The online way is to...
There is another one also.
I'm sorry, sir, I do not...
The helpline.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
So then if online, if there's a complaint, a form is given which one the victim is supposed to file, and thereafter the FI officials would inquire as to whether the complainant was the original person.
No. How an inquiry starts? When you file a complaint in FIA, what subsequently follows?
So when one files a complaint in FIA, then unlike the police, it doesn't go for the registration of FIR first. It has to go for the initiating of an inquiry first. It has to find out as to whether the complainant was an original person. It has also to find that whether as to any crime has been committed or not.
How is that done?
By using informal means and doing it secretly by the FIA official.
Calling the complainant?
Yes.
He has to first own the complaint.
Yes.
And then thereafter, then the things start, then the inquiry starts. What is plea bargain and why should it be there?
So plea bargain is basically, it has been provided by the National Accountability Ordinance 1999. It is mainly falls within the jurisdiction of NAB. Plea bargain is basically a tool of justice in which the perpetrator is being given a chance to give a share of the plundered or embezzled or money that has been earned through corruption, and in response for that, they would either be let free or their sentence would be reduced. This is the.
What do you think about it? It should be there or it should not be there?
Sir, in an efficient system, plea bargain might work. However, in our system, it has been misused by the persons who have committed or who are involved in corruption. Secondly, sir, it really creates a disequilibrium when it comes to the equal application of law. It creates, it gives an impression that there is a separate law for the rich and a separate law for the poor, and hence, principally, the plea bargain should not be allowed. It is also a fact that NAB has got much recoveries because of the phenomenon of plea bargain. But the principle is what matters, and it is not the money that matters. For the future, in order to deter the criminals and like-minded and potential corrupt people, it is to set a deterrence principle rather than.
Who is DGFI right now? Who is the current DGFI?
Sir, he is Ishaq.
You're right, Ishaq Jahangir.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to CSPs Academy for CSSPMS preparation. CSSPMS तहरीरी इम्तिहान के तमाम मज़ामीन की ऑनलाइन और ऑन कैंपस तैयारी के साथ साथ सब्जेक्ट सिलेक्शन, असाइनमेंट चेकिंग, क्लास टेस्ट, मॉक एग्जाम, इंडिविजुअल टीचर डिस्कशन और फीडबैक सेशन का इनकाद किया जाएगा। इसके अलावा FPSC की तजवीज़ करदा बुक्स से बने मयारी नोट्स और CSP पब्लिशर की बेहतरीन बुक्स मुहैया की जाएंगी।
Farhan, mashallah, very nice personality.
Thank you, sir.
Tell us 2-3 good reasons. Why should we recommend you for FIA?
Sir, there are two reasons. Firstly, I hold a degree in law, and I believe that an investigation officer should hold a degree in law because of the fact that an investigation should neither exceed the bounds of law and should not be lesser than the limits provided by the law. So the degree of a law and having an interest in law makes me a qualified candidate for the post of an investigation officer. Secondly, I'm a practicing criminal advocate. I have been practicing criminal law as a junior to my senior. He's an established lawyer, and I have seen many cases firsthand. I have got firsthand experience of the cases. And so the fact that I have not been exposed to the cases of FIA, because we do not have much of the FIA cases in Bannu, but I have been aware of the court practices and court procedures. So I believe that I would be able to better coordinate as an inspector investigation with the prosecutor, the FIA prosecutor, and would lead the cases to a reasonable conclusion much better than other candidates. So these are the two reasons and the basis.
Okay, you recently read a book, An Era of Darkness, British Empire in India.
Yes.
What is the main theme of this book?
So the main theme of this book, it has been written by Shashi Tharoor, an Indian diplomat come politician. He writes this book mainly to make a case that the British Empire in India that ruled over here for almost 90 years formally did not prove to be beneficial for the people of India. In fact, there was a drain of resources from the British, from the India. There was the heavy taxation that was being imposed on the local people, fixed taxation, static taxation system. Then he also goes on exposing the myths of British enlightened despotism, that is to say that British provided India with parliamentarism, rule of law, constitutionalism. All these things have been contradicted by, have been fought against by him with the help of his arguments. Lastly, he makes the case that instead of asking for reparations from the British Empire or for the British people, their descendants, which we now can interact with, we should make a case for a collective atonement for the oppression and for the wrongdoing that they did over the course of their rule in India. He asks that a simple act of contrition at Jallianwala Bagh massacre, for example, would go a far way than paying any amount of remuneration. He believes that no amount of remuneration is payable, and no payable remuneration is basically credible. This is what he makes the case in the book.
I want to ask your opinion on it. Don't you think that Shashi is a bit biased against the rule of Britishers in India? While they were the foreign forces over here, but yet they introduced one of the biggest rail track, which became proved to be beneficial for the subcontinent. Along with, if you talk about the role of Pakistan, we have a largest canal system in the world. Don't you think they did good work as well? And what do you think that he is so forthcoming in criticizing what Britisher did wrong in United India, but he never spoke on what India is doing bad with their minorities in their certain parts, especially in Kashmir? What is your take on it?
So, as far as my personal opinion is concerned, I do believe that the British Empire, like any other great empire in human history, has got both benefits and demerits for the people they claim to serve. The British did develop the infrastructure of India. The railway was a milestone at that time. Same was the case with the introduction of formal legal systems. This is also a blessing which has been conferred upon the people of India by the British Empire. And on the same ground, the British also did some horrible things, such as the heavy taxation on peasants, the deliberate deindustrialization of India. So Shashi also only goes for the demerits and the he makes a critique of the British Empire. In fact, in doing so, he might have developed a little bias, because when a person is in a position to criticize someone, it doesn't really care about the good things about that person, about that empire or country for that matter. As for the analogy of the current Indian system and the Indian government, and why is Shashi silent about that, I think both represent a very different case studies. The British Empire, he doesn't make a case that the British Empire did anything wrong with the minorities. What the case in India is doing wrong with minorities. Secondly, Shashi is also an outspoken critique of the current Hindutva-led bigotry that is perpetrated by the BJP supporters in India. I regularly hear his views, and he has been making a case these days for civic nationalism rather than for the Hindutva-led exclusive and xenophobic nationalism that the Modi-led supporters are basically propagating these days.
Okay, thank you. This is all from my side. So, yeah.
Okay, Farhan, you seem to have a very good knowledge on FIA. There is a wing in FIA that is called National Central Bureau, NCB. What does it do? What are its prime functions?
So, National Central Bureau is basically a bridge between the Interpol and the local police. It basically serves as a coordination point between the local authorities and the international authorities. In FI, there is a separate wing. It is placed here in Islamabad, the National Academy of Police. Its head basically is stationed there. The NCBs are created all over the world as part of the Interpol's drive to combine the world policing system.
Why don't you think you are underselling yourself by becoming an inspector in FIA? You've done degree in law, you have fair knowledge of things, you have good communication. Why don't you go for a better comparative exam?
Sir, I tried for PMS. I actually secured 734 marks just about 2 years ago. But I then decided to stick to my own profession and to the fields related to my own profession. I feel that the inspector investigation post is very much related to my own field of law. And that is why I chose to become an inspector investigation.
Okay. We discussed at length about British era justice system. What was the prevalent criminal procedure before the British era in subcontinent?
So the prevalent criminal procedure before the British arrival in subcontinent was basically there was no uniform criminal code and law at that time, and each region and each territory had their own rules. So, for example, in my area, formerly called NWFP at that time, there was the Jirga system. Same was the case with Balochistan. The Jirga was ruled primarily by long-standing criminal practices and criminal law protocols that had governed the people of that area. Then we had a panchayat system in the India, North India and Punjab in Sindh parts. So there was no uniform criminal code or criminal law at that time. The theories of punishment also varied. There was a theory of retribution in some areas. The tooth for a tooth and eye for an eye principle prevailed in some areas. There was no attempt at reformation. There was no formal prisons and jail systems at that time. So this was the case. And then the British basically, what they did was that they combined all those laws and all those punishments into a single code called Pakistan Penal Code. That is why the name code comes from. Code basically means the collection of the pre-existing laws. And Pakistan Penal Code basically is an amalgamation of new percepts and new theories of punishment brought forth by a commission headed by Lord Macaulay, and also the pre-existing criminal practices and laws which were very much in line with the local temperament and the disposition of the local people.
Thank you, sir.
कैसा रहा इंटरव्यू?
So it was good.
अच्छा?
Yes, sir.
You're sure?
I was very nervous. It was my first ever interview.
First ever interview?
Yes, sir. And you, some cameraman, shot as well. So it will be very.
आपने अच्छा इंटरव्यू दिया, good interview, and your knowledge about FIA, about the law is very good. उसमें पेमरा को जरा देखना, ये जो लॉ है ना, ये ज़्यादा आजकल इट इज़ वेरी मच इन फोकस. कोर्ट्स भी जो है ना इस पर बहुत ज़्यादा स्ट्रेस कर रहे हैं. स्ट्रेसिंग कि ये particularly asking FIA, they've asked FIA to investigate these missing persons cases and see if you see the telephone calls and that have been received, if those could be traced and can it lead to the criminals. तो वो जो है इसका आप पैमरा को आप पैका को आप देखें, ठीक है. पैका इज वेरी इम्पोर्टेंट. और FIA की आपने जो बताया उसके डिपार्टमेंट्स ये वो सही थे आपके. बहुत अच्छा आपने इंटरव्यू दिया.
थैंक यू सो मच.
अदरवाइज आपने सवालों के जवाब सही दिए, बड़े अच्छे दिए.
थैंक यू.
कीप इट अप.
थैंक यू.
Mashallah, it was very good interview.
Thank you, sir.
I will add just two more things in it. You gave very good interview. You had let's talk first on your strengths. Very good interview, very good knowledge of your subject for your job and everything. Apart from addressing only two problems that I can identify. One again is an eye contact. You have to maintain a basic eye contact with ऑल थ्री,
Okay.
जितने भी लोग बैठे होंगे,
ओके सर,
ठीक है, नॉट एक बंदे से।
ओके,
दूसरा जो चीज मुझे लगी है, बिकॉज यू हैव अ लॉट ऑफ नॉलेज अबाउट थिंग्स एंड यू आर एक्साइटेड टू, तो यू टेंड टू गिव लॉन्गर आंसर्स.
यस सर,
Don't do that.
That's
Make it precise and short so that more questions can be asked and you can be given more numbers. And instead के उसी में से लोग फिर चीज निकालें और फिर उसमें एक बहस वाला मामला चल पड़े, तो वो it goes against. Otherwise, very very good interview.
okay sir.
माशाल्लाह. ठीक, good luck बेटा.
Thank you so much.
Best of luck.
Thank you.